Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. Does this do anything? Well, yeah, it did. And today we're going to go through The Art of Worldly Wisdom by Balthasar Gracian or Gracian, whatever. I should actually look that up. I really should, and I'm always saying that I should, but gonna see after the intro. After this amazing intro, they can see right now on the screen. And while it is just still not on the screen, I'm preparing the website. I'm preparing things. Yeah, on point, I'd say. Time management today, on point. Been working on for 1.5 hours, quite with, probably like 20 minutes of fucking around and just, not doing the thing I should be doing. But still, I'm actually pretty excited to go through this summary once again, and we are gonna go ahead with 213, I guess. Contradict and feign doubt to pry out secrets, with the original title being Know How to Contradict. It is a great way to provoke others. They commit themselves and you commit nothing. The true thumbscrew, it brings the passion into play. You can use contradiction to pry loose the passions of others. Showing disbelief makes people spill their secrets. It is the key to tightly closed breasts. The fuck? Sly deprecation of others. Let's turn off the sound. Showing disbelief makes people spill their secrets. It is the key to tightly closed breasts. A slight deprecation of others' mysterious words sends out the profoundest secrets. Some sweet bait brings them into the mouth till they fall from the tongue and are caught in the net of astute deceit. By receiving or reserving your attention to other becomes less attentive and lets his thoughts appear while otherwise his heart was inscrutable. A faint doubt is the best skeleton key your curiosity can have. It will find out all at once. Also in learning, it is a subtle plan of the pupil to contradict the master, who thereupon takes pains to explain the truth more thoroughly and with more force, so that a moderate contradiction produces complete instruction. Well, I do want to point out for people that may have not seen the other episodes before, but this part of the summary is about things that might be, and I do want to underline, might be not wise to do and might actually be amoral, which heavily depends on how you live your life, who you are, what you do, and yada yada yada, of course. But think about that, keep that in mind, that some things, even if they work and actually work pretty well, you maybe should not be doing them. And I really heavily think about that, in my own life, like, okay, doing this and that and the other thing, but does it make sense? Do I want to be this person? Do I want to be remembered as this person? And well, of course, I do not want to be remembered as a bad person, quote unquote. I don't want to be remembered as a person that is manipulative. I don't want to be remembered as a person that, maybe did wrong in in the common sense, maybe. Of course, some people find it just completely fine and completely good if you, maybe use people or, use this strategy to get more information. And it also really depends on, how you're phrasing it and, how you're bringing it across, essentially. Because there are always multiple ways to say the same thing. There's always like a nice way, a neutral way, and a really shitty and asshole way. And I would really go for the nice way as often as possible. Because in the real end, it is going to be good, it is going to be fine, it is going to be worthwhile. Smoke and mirror strategies. Mirror strategies, some things that I always like to use. And I'm actually really, really, really grateful that I decided to go through such a book summary again, because really back in the days I've been using those strategies, those, not amoral ones, but those ones that, are quite neutral, they just work and, period. Of course, the information that you might get out of it, I don't know, like, is this amoral to get more information than anyone else or than most people? Well, it depends on the information, I'd say. But anyway, back in the days, I've really been using these techniques and strategies quite a lot, and also quite consciously. A few stuck with me throughout the years, but some I've totally forgotten about. Also mirroring, I have indeed forgotten about it in a conscious way to just do things. When I'm in a conversation, when I'm talking to people, I do kind of just remind myself of it, or I remember, like, okay, this person seemingly is mirroring me. And to kind of find that out, I kind of change my posture, maybe also use some power moves. Are they called power moves? Power postures, like this one is pretty powerful. Then when you're just having your hands on your knees, this is being said to just say that you are fully thinking that you are right. Is it stubbornness? Maybe. I do not even know the German word, so never mind. These maxims can be considered about embellishing things and focusing on what things look rather than focusing or solely focusing on what things are, which is always really important to remember. Like, what you're seeing may not be, or what you're recognizing, what you're experiencing may not be reality. And so thinking about what reality might be like, I think is very useful and important to keep in mind. 3. So maxim 3, I'd assume, keep matters in suspense. Admiration at their novelty heightens the value of your achievements. It is both useless and insipid, and to play with the cards on the table mix a little mystery with everything, and the very mystery arouses veneration. And when you explain, be not too explicit, just as you do not expose your inmost thoughts in ordinary intercourse. Cautious silence is the holy of holiest of worldly wisdom. Resolution declared is never highly thought of. It only leaves room for criticism, and if it happens to fail, you are doubly unfortunate. Well, yeah, this whole mystery thing, I guess it kind of stems from the very inner part of us humans, that when we're not seeing everything, it becomes more interesting. Whatever it may be, whether it is in a visual sense or whether it is in a storytelling sense. Therefore, it is often useful. For example, one really good example is pornographic photography, and I guess, and maybe this is what Playboy did, because I assume, as far as I know, they do not show genitalia anymore, and this may actually be one of those moods. You're not showing everything, so that it just becomes more interesting, because you have to use your imagination. You don't know what is happening there, and this makes us curious. As it just may be when you're talking to somebody, not just being too explicit about what you do, what you're talking about, whatever, to a certain degree, I would say. I think that when you're talking to somebody, I don't know, the first time or whatnot, this may be a good strategy, also maybe a good attraction strategy. But I don't know, if you're just trying to really bond with that person, I guess at some point it is wise to just share who you are, what you do, and what is important for you, period. And like your inner self. And I in general like to do so. I in general like to make myself vulnerable, and maybe also through that create a deeper bond and also more trust. Because okay, I'm sharing what I can, I'm sharing certain things that I just may not be sharing it the first time I'm meeting somebody. Not going to be about like, okay, I'm having a podcast. This is certainly something that I am not quite talking about. Never ever. But maybe a bad example actually. Anyway, Keep the extent of your abilities unknown. The prudent person, if he wants to be revered by others, should never allow them to judge the extent of his knowledge and courage. ILO, low, ILO, or low, I don't really know. It's I-O-W, or it might be L-L-O-W, or it is ILO since it's, after period and uppercase I, lowercase l, and O-W. Well, never mind. Yourself to be known but not comprehended. No one will discern the limits of your talent, and thus no one will be disappointed. You can win more admiration by keeping other people guessing the extent of your talent or even doubting it than you can be displaying it, however great. Yes, but once again, I think one should really be cautious about just not letting people think that you are a complete dumbass. I don't know, when you're just doing something for school, uni, whatever, like in an educational setting, just playing this game of, okay, I'm just not gonna do my best to then surprise them. Like, what is the point of doing so? There may be actually a point, to kind of maybe spare energy for things that are more important. Why is it dropping? I just saw in some red lights, and red light is never ever good. But yeah, I think one should really be cautious about how one is using that, and using it in a wise way, and in the best setting, or in a setting where it just makes sense, or in a scenario where it makes sense. Anyway, 99. Take care of your appearances. Things pass for what they seem, not for what they are. Few see inside, many take to the outside. It is not enough to be right if right seems false and malicious. Or malicious. I think it's malicious. Yes and no, I'd say. I think, yes, appearance does matter, but, best thing to explain my point is with products. If a product is advertised and marketed in a very, very well way, then, of course, I might just be buying it, just because it seems to be pretty good, it seems to be actually pretty great. But when you get this product and it is shitty, you hate this product even, well, it is useless. And it's not going to be good for your reputation, it's not going to be good for the company's reputation. So, also cautiously, once again, using this quote-unquote strategy to make your life easier instead of, actually making it harder or more difficult. It is foolish not to do foolish things, but not concealing them. Original title: The fool isn't someone who does something foolish, but the one who doesn't know how to conceal it. Hide your effects, but even more your defects. All people ERR. But with this difference, the wise dissimulate their errors and fools speak of those they are about to commit. Reputation is more a matter of stealth than of deeds. If you can't be chased, be carrier. The slips on the grate are closely observed like eclipses of the sun and moon. You shouldn't confine your defects to friends or even to yourself where that possible. Another rule for living is applicable here: know how to forget. Reputation is more a matter of stealth than of deeds. Is it really? I mean, in the end, it is about action, isn't it? And knowing how to forget, yes. This is certainly right. Try to forget about things. But forgetting is not the same as pushing things away, pushing thoughts away so that you do not have to deal with them. Keep that in mind as well. But also be seen doing. So do, but also be seen doing. Things do not pass for what they are, but for what they seem. To excel and to know how to show it is to excel twice. What is invisible might as well not exist. Reason itself is not venerated when it does not wear a reasonable face. Those easily dubbed outnumber the prudent. These sight reigns and things are judged from without and are seldom what they seem. A fine exterior is the best recommendation of inner perfection. Recommendation, yes. Well, I do just in general really get it. And I think it also really makes sense. And I think it is also very important. For example, I don't know, when you're meeting somebody new, just looking like a complete whatever may not just be a good idea. But it's, as I said, I mean, if a product is shitty in the end, it is just not going to be good for the reputation. It's not going to be good for the company. It's not going to be good for the product. Just because you seem good and you seem whatever doesn't mean that you are, of course. But of course, you are probably going to be able to double, triple, or quadruple your opportunities and your chances by just thinking about the exterior, by thinking about your marketing, by thinking about how other people see you. This just may and probably is totally right, but creating too high of a standard that you cannot meet in the end may not just work as well, unless, of course, I mean, is there some sort of tolerance? Is there some sort of tolerance that people may be having, when they're seeing somebody that looks really nice and whatnot, and of course, there might be some deviation from this niceness that you think this person is, especially when you do not know this person. So is there some sort of tolerance? There is. Yeah, of course. Is there some sort of tolerance that the people have when it comes to these things? Of course, also with products. I mean, I know that marketing is overdoing things. I know that, but still, I'm probably going to be fine with a somewhat decent product. Obviously, I don't want to have a really great one, as it was marketed. But if it is at least just somewhat good and somewhat great, I'm going to be quite fine with it. So it's difficult. And on the contrary, do not be fooled by appearances. Original title, Look Deep Inside. Things are seldom what they seem, and ignorance, which sees no deeper than the bark, the bark of a tree, often turns to disillusion with its when it penetrates into things, and all things decide arrives first, dragging fools behind it in endless vulgarity. Truth is always late, always last to arrive, limping along with time. Prudent people save one of their ears for truth, thanking their common mother, nature, for giving them two. The sight is superficial, and superficial people are quick to run into her. Discernment lives hidden away in retirement so as to be more esteemed by the wise and the discreet. Well, in the end, I think it's just throwing around random words that I just do not understand anyway, but the point is, just because something seems to be great doesn't mean that it is great. So looking deep inside is very valuable and useful, and you should just be doing so. Keep things strategically complex. Original title, don't express your ideas too clearly. Most people think little of what they understand and venerate what they do not. To be valued, things must be difficult. If they can't understand you, people will think more highly of you. To win respect, make yourself seem wiser and more prudent than is required by the person you are dealing with, but do so with moderation. Intelligent people value brains. Most people demand a certain elevation. Keep them guessing at your meaning and don't give them a chance to criticize you. Many praise without being able to say why. They venerate anything hidden or mysterious, and people praise it because they hear it praised. Well, the thing is, this may actually kind of be what the author did here in the book as well. Just throwing around a bunch of random words to just seem good and seem like it makes sense what he's talking about. May be the case. I'm just not willing to fully and clearly and whatnot say, yeah, this is what it is. But yeah, it really does make sense. Most often when people talk about something that, well, if they hear something they do not understand, they, I guess, either, it really depends on the person, obviously, but, either they're like, okay, I just do not understand, I can't give you my opinion on that, or they just say, yes, of course, yeah, this seems to be the case and whatnot. The most interesting thing is when you are the person that is talking about something highly complex, or at least in a way that it is rather complex, maybe just using just terms that are used in the space, whether it is design, whether it is science, whether it is whatnot, and people just be like, okay, yeah, I agree, this is just totally what it is like, and you clearly know they haven't understood anything that you've been talking about. But by the way, I tend to do that as well. I just, tend to say yes, and yeah, this really makes sense or whatnot. And I've been thinking about that, and then also think about the other person, maybe thinking and knowing that I just didn't understand anything they were talking about. But when it is important, I'm just, definitely gonna say like, okay, no, didn't understand that. For example, when it comes to client work and whatnot, like, does not make any sense for me to be like, okay, yeah, I completely understand and just do something. Even though sometimes I do that. Just because I think, well, they're gonna tell me anyway what's been in their head, and communication is pretty difficult. Communication is very difficult, especially when it comes to client things and whatnot. Anyway, use absence to win respect or esteem. Presence diminishes fame, absence enlarges it. The absent person who was thought a lion turns into a mouse. Ridiculous offspring of the mountain when present. Gifts lose their sheen when they are handled. One sees the outer bark and not the spiritual pith. Imagination travels faster than sight. The sight comes in through the ears, but usually leaves through the eyes. The person who retires into himself, into the center of his reputation, preserves his good name. Even the phoenix used absence to preserve its dignity and to turn desire into esteem. Well, I think about absence in a way of value. If you're not there all the time, if you're not available all the time, you have more value than somebody that is there all the time, I would say. But it also really depends on how you carry yourself and how you talk and just who you are, basically. I mean, I was thinking about a school setting. I think the last year in school, maybe the one prior, I've had 0 hours not being at school. I've always been at school when I had to, and probably even a bit more just because of traveling or commuting and whatnot. But I just thought about it, like, and I guess it also really ties into the whole mystery thing and just being mysterious. Of course, if you're absent a lot of times, you are more mysterious because people don't know you that well. Also, just as I said, heavily depends on how you carry yourself, what your appearance looks like, who you are, and so on and so forth. Which means, of course, if you also seem to be a really mysterious person, then people think about you in a certain way. You're absent very often and whatnot. Especially also when you're then really good at what you're doing, then you're really mysterious. At least as I'm seeing things. I just think about one particular person. That I've had a really cool and great conversation this year, actually, which I've really enjoyed and I've really really liked. I should actually hit this person up at some point of time. Be bad to be good. I do not actually want to stop recording now. I just gonna have to reply to that. Probably not gonna cut that out. Maybe I will. In the meantime, I mean, you could read if you're in the podcast. I'm actually very sorry, but this is too funny not to reply to kind of instantly. And I just see that I'm having 23 messages in 4 chats. Okay. Am I, I'm not important, but The following maxims are reminiscent of Machiavellism. A good man is ruined among the great number who are not good. And they can be grouped into this website's core value that to be good you need to be bad. Which I've actually not understood, so I might actually also check out this article there. To be good you first need to be bad, here's why. Abusive and too nice strategies die out. Conditional cooperation wins. Well, a big tenet of this website is that to be a force for good in the world, you have to learn how to be bad. The concept of facing evil as a necessity for good is not simply a matter of philosophy, but there is enough empirical evidence to prove it. The first part of this post will... This is not good. The first part of this post will address the qualitative, more empirical sides. The second part will address the question more from the individual point of view and probably also being a bit more philosophical. The Evolution of Cooperation is a famous paper in evolutionary psychology circles. It has been a great milestone used to explain why with empirical evidence, why humans present altruistic behavior in the face of otherwise selfish genes. Also reads The Moral Animal. The experiment is a computer program running a simplified version of negotiations, also known as iterated prisoner's dilemma. Many different negotiation strategies were pitted against each other. So there's actually a graph. We're having the buyer on the very left side and the seller. So okay, let's just put it like this: the buyer on the vertical side and the seller on the horizontal side. So if you think about a graph for all the podcast listeners, there we're having on the, and as well we're having seller in corporate and defect, and also the buyer in corporate and defect. So when both are defect, there is just no exchange, or they apparently do not sell anything and they do not give any money. If the seller is corporate and the buyer is defect, then you're selling diamonds for nothing. If the seller is defect and the buyer is corporate, then does this make sense? Then you're having a lot of money, but you do not have the diamonds that you actually are willing to buy. If both are corporate, then you're having the money and also the diamonds. By Christopher X. John Jensen and Greg Ristenberg, if you want to check it out. In brief, these were the main types of strategies. Some negotiation strategies tried to defect as much as possible to get maximum selfish payoff, cheating in human terms. Some strategies were very highly cooperative, too nice in human terms. Some were middle of the roads, shall we say, assertively win-win in human terms. This study is highly relevant to both social skills and cooperation because much of social relations are based on value exchanges, something that we've been talking about the last time. We often find ourselves negotiating conflicting interests. The results are also highly interesting in terms of nice versus abusive strategies, as they allow up to a certain point to draw some parallels with human behavior. And the results are very telling. First, abusive and too nice strategies die out. I'm just going to read the headline. Then conditional corporations win, or corporation wins. The strategy that won out, tit for that, or tit for that, could be interpreted as a middle of the road sort of an assertive win-win. Read more on tit for tat strategies, but in a nutshell, it works like this. First, it keeps cooperating with those who cooperate, it retaliates with those who cheat, and it starts from scratch after the retaliation. Retaliation is required. Tit for that embodies empirically the central thesis of this post and a central tenet of this website, and that is that you And that is that to allow cooperation and win-win, you need to be able to punish and cast aside the abusers of this world. There have been more elaborate techniques that eventually did for that, but they all included the capacity of cooperation as a default while defending and isolating abusers for a good overview. See Ridley, 1996. Too nice is the root of evil. For cooperation to even exist, evil must be met with evil. Well, I do get the whole point, but I don't know, like, if somebody's being an asshole, should you be an asshole back? Well, of course, you should not be. If it is about cooperating, you should. If you do not want to cooperate with the person, you just, don't have to, and you shouldn't. Then, unless there's reasons, unless you just need the money and yada yada yada. Of course. If you want to cooperate with this person, it really does make sense. And, well, yes, on a societal basis, just in a very macro view, it does make sense to punish the evil, to not cooperate with the evil, so that they have to change and see that they do not get any further with being evil. So they have to be nice so that you can deal with them, so that you can just whatever. Yes, yeah, that's my point. A naively cooperating environment are at higher danger of being invaded and taken over by opportunistic cheats. The world needs good men with capacity for evil. More evil in the world. I think evil, by the way, is connotated so negatively that I would have actually liked to see a different word here. There's one more twist. The simulation probably makes it harder for abuse to pay off. That for that example plays multiple rounds with fixed payouts. But what if one could win big once without retribution, or cheat without anyone else knowing it? Indeed, abusive behavior is more likely to pay off socially when nobody knows you have cheated, the other player cannot retaliate, you will never meet the other player again, you can win huge and give back little when retaliated against. Why you must master evil. The ability to recognize evil when you see it, the strength and skills to withstand it, avoid it or destroy it, the ability to act evil when needed. But yeah, this is really dependent on the situation. Of course, somebody's being rude to you. If this person is an authority, you shouldn't bark back. You shouldn't be an asshole back, because you don't have any leverage in this situation, because this is an authority. Especially when it is like the police or whatnot, just do not play against it. Do not play against them. Just play the submissive little guy. It's probably going to be better. For you in the end, if it is sensible in terms of society, no it isn't, because even if you are an authority, you should not be able to use it to be evil and an asshole quite. Very, very difficult question, but yeah. Good episode, great episode. I'm gonna end it here. I'm hopefully gonna see you soon. So bye or something. I don't know.